Hello, everybody. Once again, we are live from TransPerfect Media, and today we are going to talk about AI. So the title of this live event or podcast is AI Threat of Opportunity. So we already did a few live events. So this one is very interesting because I have the chance and the opportunity to talk with my two esteemed colleagues, Matt. So Matt Austin is in London and he's the Media Technology Solution Manager. And Pierre Lanchantin. Pierre is in Los Angeles and is our lead research scientist. So I'm Jacques Barrault and I'm the host of this podcast. And so today we talk about AI. But first, I would like to define what is AI, because everybody is talking about AI, but not a lot of people know what is AI. So in fact, AI is a name that was given in 1956, if I look at my notes, by some people in the States at the University of Dartmouth in this college, where John McCarthy and Marvin Minsky gave this name of artificial intelligence, explaining this is a science of engineering of making intelligent machines. So now the first question is the artificial intelligence really intelligent? And we are going to debate about that with Pierre and Matt. So Matt will talk a little bit about the client facing, and Pierre will talk about what he does behind the scene with the machine. So let our two guests introduce themselves, and we'll start the discussion just after that. So Matt, would you like to start? So what do you do at TransPerfect? We are all from TransPerfect, so this is perfect.
My name is Matt Austin. As Jacques said, I'm based in London. My role is to gather requirements, understand the technology landscape, and really think about how we can build efficiencies in the media localization process. That can be using artificial intelligence, or that can be using tools or developing tools.
So
sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
I was going to say I've been in localization technology for around 20 years, media for 6 years, and then the last 2 years I've been focusing on artificial intelligence in media.
That is very interesting. And from all this time you spent promoting technology to help making more efficient processes. When did you start hearing about AI? When this little craze started?
So I think about 8 years ago, machine translation was a dirty word. Yeah. So I went to many conferences and spoke with many clients to talk about how machine translation could bring efficiencies without having to then take the talent rate lower, which obviously satisfies a lot of people. And that was a form of artificial intelligence, I guess. That's more machine learning, but that's what people kind of said, oh, well, this is AI. You're going to just generate language. Now what I'm hearing, the buzzwords are AI dubbing, which I actually disagree with. I don't think AI dubbing exists. I think you can generate audio from text, and that fits some use cases. And I think you can morph voices of human performance. But I think the AI dubbing piece is what's getting everybody either anxiety or excitement. And I'm hearing that every day. In all of my client calls, they're like, talk about AI dubbing. And then I have to explain that I don't really think that actually exists.
This is great. And this is very important because you said anxiety and excitement. And after the strike in the States, and actually I was 3 weeks ago in the Los Angeles when the actors signed the agreement with the union. So I was there. It was very funny, and I really had the feeling to be in the middle of something very important because everybody was waiting for this agreement to be signed. So from the actor, a lot of anxiety, but everybody else is very excited about it. We talk about it. It's a mixed feeling, and that's very interesting to to watch and to notice. Just a quick note on the machine translation, because you were talking about machine translation. One of our colleagues was telling me that 20 years ago, when machine translation started, everybody was saying that's the end of the translators. We won't have any more translators. And what are we doing today? We are looking for translators every day. So, we have to learn from the past, and maybe it will be the same from AI. I don't know. So, Pierre, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit what you do behind the scene?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually leading a research and development team at TransPerfect, and we are specialized in speech processing, which include speech recognition, but also speech synthesis. And our role at TransPerfect is to develop AI-based solution for speech content creation. So we work really closely with production studio at TransPerfect, and what you try to do is to develop some tools to improve their production process. And those tools include text-to-speech, voice morphing, and voice cloning as well.
Yes, and that's very important. Also, you said to improve the production process. This is very important, and we can talk about that after. I understand that you guys don't want to replace actors, you want to improve the process. Like Matt was saying, improving the process is the first function, and we all improve process along these years, and that's why first of all, that's why we dub more. I come from Warner Brothers before 5 years ago, joining TransPerfect, and I remember 25 years ago, Warner Brothers was maybe dubbing 2 movies a year in Japan and 3-4 movies a year in Mexico. And when I left 5 years ago, they were doing 12 movies a year in Japan and 20 movies a year in Mexico. So this shows that if you improve the process, you dub more. And this is, I think, one of the interesting lessons that we can learn from there. Maybe AI will help improve the process and generate more dubbing, because we are still in the battle of subtitling between dubbing at this point, especially in the dubbing business. Subtitling is so cheap compared to dubbing. People hesitate, and you have a lot of content that is subtitled. Now, if we can help the dubbing, well, the volume will ramp up, and if the volume will ramp up, we will need actors. And the same thing with the translators of the machine translation. It will be the same thing. So before we start,
I think there's a huge content explosion right now. So I think a lot of companies, they obviously want to shave off cost, and they obviously want to turn things around quicker. But I think the solution to that is not always artificial intelligence, because some people have very legacy processes. So that's something to look at as well. And the other thing to think about is tiering content. Is this content suitable for, Harry Potter? Maybe not. But is it suitable for some shows? Maybe it is. And I think as long as everybody involved in the process is compensated for their tasks, whether that's artificial intelligence or helping artificial intelligence or just pure human, then that's the way to improve the processes.
Yeah, for having supervised 8 Harry Potter's movie worldwide, I can tell you that was a very manual process, and I think it will stay like that for this type of content. Pierre, could you explain to us a little bit the different tools? Because everybody's talking about AI, but in fact AI and I don't know, I don't want to do some publicity, but this guy, Luc Julia, is a French guy. He was one of the creators of Siri, and he wrote this excellent book called Artificial Intelligence Doesn't Exist. I have the French version, but it has been translated. So, and this guy, he was co-founder of Siri after he worked at Samsung. He's now in France, very big name in AI, and he's defining AI as a toolbox. And I thought this was really genius, and I give him credit for that. And he is explaining, in a toolbox, you have a lot of tools. You have a hammer, a saw, a drill, some nails, and they are all doing some different things. So, and they're all doing different things better than humans, which is very important. So the hammer, obviously, if you want to put a nail in the wall with your hand, with your fist, that's going to hurt. So the hammer is doing that better than you. But the hammer cannot sing, cannot talk, cannot think. So this is, I think we are a little bit at the same point with AI. AI is just a suite of tools. Each tool has a very specific property, and AI doesn't think. We can talk about that after. So Pierre, explain to us a little bit, what are the tools you are working on right now? And after we'll talk about with Matt about what the clients are asking and what are the different use cases we can do with these tools.
Yeah, I agree with you that AI is, how it's used nowadays, more like a, umbrella term for range of technologies. And basically AI, what you try to do is to mimic the way human will think in order to perform really complex tasks. So for instance, the analysis, diagnostic, or could be speech recognition, speech transcription, or machine translation. So all of these different tools, as you say, are enabled actually by the advances in machine learning that Matt was talking about before. And machine learning is actually a subset of AI. And what you try to do is to define algorithm and models in order to perform such complex tasks such as speech synthesis or speech translation. So on our side, we are focusing on speech synthesis for content production, for speech content creation. And as I say, we focus on voice cloning, text-to-speech, and voice conversion. So I think the easiest way is to start from voice cloning. So what you do with voice cloning is you try to make a digital clone of a voice. So let's say, Jack, we want to clone your voice. So what we want to do is to extract some characteristics of your voice and train them in a model so that we can use this model to regenerate your voice. So there are different characteristics with the voice. Usually we categorize them as two aspects. There's the timbral aspect, timbre, which is related to the voice color. So that's linked to the shape of your vocal tract, like the shape of an instrument. That's how you use your resonator, how you use your articulator. That's what makes the sound of your voice. And then there's the way how you play this instrument. So that's related to what we call prosody, which is more about the rhythm of the voice and the intonation, and also, for instance, your regional accent, which are also characteristic of your voice.
Yes, and this is very true. Probably the emission of air from your voice. And we were talking about that last time. When I was teaching years ago at the University of Aix-en-Provence, I was teaching electroacoustic because I was an electroacoustic student and I've been graduated. And so I was teaching them. And the first day of the course, I was telling the students, let's record a guitar and let's record a piano. So one note on the guitar and the same note on the piano. And at this time, we didn't have Pro Tools, so we were recording on tape machines. So we were taking this sound and we were cutting with scissors the first centimeter of the sound, which is corresponding to the transients of attack, what you call the prosody. I talk like that. And all the sound in the world emitted have transients of attack. That's why we recognize the sound immediately after the first millisecond. And where we were cutting the first centimeter of this tape, the students were not able to distinguish the guitar from the piano. And everybody was amazed. And I was saying, that's the proof that you recognize the sound at the emission of this sound. So exactly like what you explained, the sound is really two parts, the prosody in your case, how the sound is emitted, and the timbre, like a different placement. I can do Marvin the Martian, I can do Max Mini, I can do Tasmanian Devil. So all this, that's a timbre. And the way I talk is the prosody. So that's really fascinating because I see that in fact, I was applying analogically the same method that you are doing today. This is really interesting.
One thing, just to clear up any anxiety out there, is we need the rights to be able to clone someone's voice, and they need to be involved. So, this is one thing that I think is very blurry out there right now, is people think you're out there to steal voices, whereas what we're trying to do is build a framework that allows people to understand exactly how their voice is going to be used. And what I would do anyway is I would actually try and monetize my voice. Maybe I don't use my voice in this industry, so they can use it in that industry and I get some money for that, whereas I carry on working in the entertainment industry. But what I'm trying to get at is the anxiety there should be fading away, because it's all about legal contracts and agreements.
Absolutely. And Matt, this is very true. And it's like everything, if you have a minority of people breaking the rules, that doesn't mean that everybody breaks the rules. You have not so smart people right now stealing content from YouTube and creating morphing or TTS with these voices. This is not a smart idea, because as we all know, the likeness of the actor is something that belongs to the actor, and using anything from the likeness of the actor, that could be the image, the voice, the address, the telephone number, whatever, it's against the law. And that's as simple as that. So you will always find people stealing. Well, stealing exists since a long time. So now we are stealing voices instead of stealing oranges at the grocery shop, But it's the same concept. And thank you for the clarification, Matt. Absolutely, this is against the law. Don't steal voices. Pierre, please continue.
Yeah, on this point, I just wanted to mention that the tools we are providing, as we say, is to improve the process in studio. So that can be to avoid voice actor to come back for retakes, so that you can edit some text edit just by replacing some text and using text to speech. Other application that we have been working on is also on more like creative applications, like we work on a movie recently which is called Le Règne Animal, and the voice actor, we wanted them, the director wanted to mix them with the sound of animals, and that's some kind of creative application you can do with voice morphing. There are other applications where you want to in a movie progressively age the voice, so that the person is getting older, or on the contrary, you might want to preserve the characteristic of a specific animation character, even if the voice of the voice actor, the talent change. And there's a lot of application, like a creative application for voice conversion and text to speech. So
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because as I teach in the Dubbing Academy, I can make my voice older by adding air in the voice. So if I speak like that, I will sound older. I never found the trick to make it younger. So at least you can.
And you are really aware of that, Jacques, that doing the kind of voice you did now is really tiring for a voice actor. You can do that maybe half an hour, but if you have to do a whole session, whole day, the voice actor has to rest. And using this kind of technologies, it can help the voice actor to get this kind of voice without being exhausted at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, another point.
Yeah.
I was going to say, another point is that when you're working with kids, that can be a legal minefield anyway, but also, they can work a couple of hours a day or whatever. Sometimes they have to have their family around them to make them play ball. So rather than try and get them to reiterate a nursery rhyme, you could have an adult do the nursery rhyme in a kind of bouncy way and then turn that into a child's voice. So there are a lot of applications out there that people aren't really thinking about that, yes, at the bottom line will save them money, but obviously sometimes the process doesn't even make sense to undertake because it's prohibitive. But if you take those prohibitive pieces away, a lot of this content becomes a lot more accessible to a lot more people.
Absolutely. When the first iPhone was created, we'll remember that. It was not so long ago. I remember when the first iPhone was created, who could have thought about this is going to generate a new job, influencer. This is going to generate social media expert. That didn't exist at this time. So you are absolutely true. And it's the same for instrument. I always go back to music because I'm a musician. And, when Adolphe Sax invented the saxophone, he never thought about jazz. And the saxophone is being one of the most used instruments in jazz, but he didn't think about that. So it was used on another meaning, on another process. And for sure, we can say that AI will find different ways of help or improving the process. So Pierre, you were talking about voice cloning.
Yeah. So
after let's define the different tools, and after we go in the discussion a little bit deeper.
So yeah, I define the characteristic of your voice. And one thing which is really important is that everybody is like a specialist of voice, because we use speech all the day. And people are really picky on recognizing voices. If you are also on the voice quality, if your synthesis has some artifacts, people will directly spread it to say, oh, this is a robot, or oh, this doesn't sound like you. So that it's been a lot of work in order to reach the level of quality we can get today. So let's continue with your example. So we record like half an hour we can start to get a good clone from 30 seconds of data. But if you want really high similarity to your voice, you can record between 15 minutes and half an hour of data. And once we've recorded that, we train a model that we call a voice clone. And once we have this voice clone, we can generate speech in your voice in two ways. So either we use text as input, so we type a text and then
this is what we call text to speech, or TTS.
And TTS, and then we generate the speech in your voice. Or we can take another recording. For instance, I can record a voice, a sample, and then I put it in the model, and then it will say in your voice, with keeping, which is really important, preserving the acting I put in the voice. So the rhythm, but also the intonation, which can, as you can imagine, can be really useful for dubbing or for doing retakes. So I think we had some examples. I don't know if you want to show them or.
Yes, we can show the first example, and after we'll go a little bit deeper in the discussion. So our assistant Claudia is helping us. Claudia, can you show, what do you want to show first? Pierre, you want to show?
We can show text to speech.
Okay.
So basically, we have the model that you train on your voice, and then you input text in different languages, and then you can hear your voice in those languages.
So we have to explain our auditors there that I was cloned. Don't worry, nothing happened to me. And so Pierre cloned my voice, and from there, we are going to use text to speech. Please play that.
So here the text is in French, as you can see.
Votre voix est un instrument. Apprenez à en jouer.
Danish.
Din stemme er et instrument. Lær at spille på den. صوتك هو أداة. تعلم كيفية العزف عليه.
Thank you, Claudia. So this is the interesting thing to say is that I never said these three sentences, nor in French, nor in Danish, nor in Arabic. And you could have done any language like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So
so basically we need data in one language, like you say those sentence in French, and then once we clone your model, we can generate it in multiple languages.
So this is really amazing because this is cross language. So once you clone my voice, you just typed on the computer the text, and the computer played my voice, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So it can preserve the rhythm of your voice, and it definitely reproduce the timbre of your voice, even some phones that are not in your language.
That's interesting because let's talk. So we are on the text to speech. After we'll talk about more things, but interesting to talk about the text to speech now because, dubbing is is acting. For me, at least, I did dubbing all my life, and I was directing actors, and the Harry Potter, the Batman, all the big movies I did at Warner, and all this animation we did at TransPerfect with big clients. So we have an actor acting. Here you have a text, a type on a computer. So my question is, let's talk about emotions. Let's talk about acting, accentuation. How do you manage that if you want to type a text? Because, I was in a conference a few weeks ago in Germany, and I was taking an example. It's great. So I said, okay, we can say, it's great, or we can say, oh, it's great. So it's the same words, but with completely different emotion. So how does AI, if we want to call that AI, know which one I want? I want the happy one, I want the sad one, I want the assertive one. How do we know that?
So there are different ways of telling the software or the computer that you want to reproduce expressivity. You can either have a model which is trained on annotated database, which we say, we recorded this speech in this expressivity or this other one. So what we will do is type the text and say, I want to say that in a happy way. And then you can input the intensity of the happiness that you want or the sadness. And the other way of doing is also to provide a sample. Say, I want my voice to sound like the expressivity of my voice to sound like the expressivity of this sample. So you can take the sample of someone really sad and give it to the computer, which is going to extract some information about the prosody characteristic of the sad expressivity and apply it to your voice.
This is very interesting. So if I understand correctly, you have to give a model and you have to explain to the computer by different models what the computer can do. The computer is not going to improvise and say, I want to do it this way or this way, because like the book I showed you, the intelligence is not there yet, or maybe it will come one day, but a lot of people are debating about that. Please,
yeah,
Matt.
I think there is sentence analysis, which is becoming quite clever. So you can identify it's talking about a flower, wherever it's talking about a bird. You can identify that it's a whispering scene or a coward's, a scared scene. So I think a lot of that can come from the text. I don't think all of it can, but I think if you can generate a draft and then someone can polish it, then you get into the realms of, of better output. With less human touch points, putting the human in the most valuable position. They could maybe work on multiple projects, that kind of thing.
Great. And because we are still on the text-to-speech subject, so Matt, is which one of the models, text-to-speech or morphing, do you hear more from our clients?
So this is interesting. I think it's quite blurry right now. I don't hear either of them. I hear them saying AI dubbing, and then I have to educate them on what speech synthesis is or text-to-speech. I call it speech synthesis because text-to-speech in theory is dubbing. It doesn't say it's not human. It just says text-to-speech. So I say speech synthesis.
Yes.
And then I also talk to them about voice morphing. Now, it seems to be that entertainment companies are more interested in voice morphing, especially animation, because less people have to go to a studio, essentially. But when I'm talking to corporate clients, they're looking for a trusted brand voice that can be on all of their videos in all of their languages, which lends itself more to text-to-speech. Either way, what tends to happen is they say, can you give me a sample? And it needs to sound like this. So they've got in their mind in a concept that they want to get to that deliverable. And then we have to kind of say, well, there's limits to text-to-speech, and there's different limits to voice morphing. Correct. So it's based on your use case and it's based on the content. So let's do a content evaluation. And once I've done the content evaluation, or TransPerfect has, that's when we can say to them which model is going to work best, or whether they have to be full human because neither model is going to work for them. So I would say I'm not hearing anything about speech synthesis or voice morphing. I'm hearing more about AI dubbing.
AI
and
dubbing.
then we have to educate, because I think what's happened is misinformation has blurred everything and has upset script writers and talent in ways that it shouldn't have if it went out there in the right way.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. We have to be careful to not simplify too much. AI is not the savior of humanity. AI doesn't do everything. In the States, when Tesla, the first Tesla were sold, I was with a friend on the freeway driving a Tesla, and he says, "Look," and he takes the hands out of the wheel, and because AI was helping the car to follow the lines. So right now it's not recommended because we still have a few accidents because of that. But you're absolutely right. AI is not everything. That's why we try to explain and simplify, and not too much simplify the terminology. So we have to stay very precise. So Pierre, please.
Yeah, so by AI dubbing, I think what people mean is replacing the whole process of dubbing with AI. So as you know, when you do some dubbing, you first do some transcription, detection of the timing, and then you have to do translation, adaptation, and then re-record the voice talent. So you basically have 3 steps, like a transcription, translation, and then synthesis. And what my team is working mostly is on the speech generation, the synthesis. Yes. But there are existing solutions nowadays who would tends to do the whole process, like take the video and then do transcription, machine translation, and synthesis. And this works well, like I would say 70% of the time, if it's like if it's content which is rather neutral, and if you have doesn't have so much mix in the speech, in the character, or if you don't have so much background music, but you always need a human that we say human in the loop approach, because you need someone who's going to check each step, like transcription, correct, the timing, translation, and then even speech synthesis. Like if you use text to speech to generate something expressive, you might take more time to do it because you will have to adjust the intonation than using a real voice actor. So that's exactly. really there are emerging solutions, but it still need work, and like that's mostly for neutral, like documentaries or.
Yes, you're right, and like we saw in the demo we just played, the sentences were with not a lot of contrast, very very linear, a little bit monotonous. So that works very well. If you start talking like that, that's going to be much more complicated to tell the computer, I want to do that. So that's going to be more complex. Great. Let's talk about morphing. We are going to this direction now. So before we start talking about morphing, the morphing is just I take a source, I have a target, and the source will be transformed in the target. So I can talk with your voice, you can talk with my voice. That's very simple. So let's, Claudia, can you play the little morphing demo that we prepared? Still with my voice, since I was cloned. Let's go.
Il y avait une fois une veuve qui s'appelait Faucon. Elle habitait avec ses 2 filles l'un des quartiers les plus pauvres de la petite ville de Naga.
Il y avait une fois une veuve qui s'appelait Faucon. Elle habitait avec ses 2 filles l'un des quartiers les plus pauvres de la petite ville de Naga.
פגישה, חצי פגישה, מבט אחד מהיר, קטעי ניבים סתומים, זה די.
פגישה, חצי פגישה, מבט אחד מהיר, קטעי ניבים סתומים, זה די.
Не завидую птицам в лесах. Заведут и кукую. Знаешь, долю такую лишь врагу пожелать я могу.
Не завидую птицам в лесах. Заведут и кукую. Знаешь, долю такую лишь врагу пожелать я могу.
Thank you very much, Claudia. So this is really amazing because it's cross language and cross gender, because you took the digital print of my voice. You can have any source, and so like you explained earlier, the source will be morphed using the timbre and also the prosody of my voice. Is it correct?
We reproduce some micro inflection in the prosody, but the general prosody, which is the acting, is preserved. So that's really important to preserve the acting and the timing, like for dubbing application.
So quick question.
Yes,
You've
go
gone
ahead.
from male to female, but the prosodies would be different for each. So how do we combat that?
It depends. If you, what you're trying to do is to follow as much as possible the prosody of the actor, of the source actor. So if you use like a female voice and convert it to a male voice, it might still keep the prosody of the female voice. So, but there are ways of keeping more of the prosody, so that even if you have a female voice, you will have the prosody of the target voice. It really depends on the application, on what is your goal. Our goal to us is to preserve as maximum the acting of the actor.
Yes, of course.
But I agree with you that the prosody of female voice and male voice are quite different, and you can't hear it if you apply a female voice to a male voice and vice versa.
Thanks.
That is great, and of course, everybody's dream is to have one actor doing all the roles and to have all the voice morph. This is not going to happen tomorrow. I want to. That's my personal opinion, but if I remember correctly, when I was doing a lot of Looney Tune dubbing, I always had, and I remember a friend, an actor called Michael in Sweden. So Michael was doing in Sweden Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, if I remember correctly, Sylvester the Cat, Tasmanian Devil. So the guy was doing 4 characters by himself, and just by changing in voice, like I did earlier, I just changed the voice placement. I just changed the voice placement like Marvin the Martian, and my voice is changing. So, of course, morphing will be very precise, but having less actor doing more character is not a new thing, and it's not AI that is going to generate that, because they are already doing that. And if I may, I would like just to explain that the rule of the 2080, in practically all the countries in the world, you have 20% of the actors doing 80% of the jobs, because they are fast, they are good. And so, let's say in France, you have probably 2,000 actors. Well, in 2,000 actors, you have 20%, 400 that are doing everything. And the rest, they are doing 80% of it. And the huge majority are just sharing a little piece of the pie. So, freaking out because AI can have actors doing more than one character, I think it's not the right threat right now, because it already exists. And maybe, like Pierre, you said earlier, maybe AI can do what humans. I come back to the hammer thing that we were comparing at the beginning of the podcast. Replacing actors, doing some wallahs where nobody is in the room, generating half human, half animals from a very creative way. This is where AI can help. But the actors will stay the actors, especially now. We are still at the infancy of this technology. So acting will stay there for a while, I guess. Do you want to talk about? Yes, Matt, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd add one point to that. So acting relates on being in a studio. So you've got the 9 to 5 container. I think AI can then work through the night to help you achieve that crazy deadline. That's a use case.
That's a good example. Absolutely. because human need to sleep, computer don't. So, so that's obviously an advantage. Pierre, do you want to talk about voice synthesis or voice creation?
Oh,
So
yeah,
we,
there is a
sorry, just to recap. So we talked about the voice cloning, making a digital print of the voice. From this digital print, and you saw you do it with my voice, you can do text to speech, or you can morph anybody in my voice. So now let's talk about voice creation. Another
yeah.
tool.
So there are different ways of creating a voice. You can do from an example of a voice, so that's voice cloning. But you can also create voice that doesn't exist, that they don't belong to anyone. And for voice creation, you can either give some samples of example of voices that you like, and you try to mix those so that you obtain new voices, or you can specify by labels, like what you want to do, like having a voice which is more creaky, have some criteria related to the prosody, like have a happy commercial voice, or having a more like intense voice, and create a voice for this. So that's like a voice casting, but digital. Yeah.
Yes, because everybody is driving, and everybody is using Waze or maps. But the voice you hear when they tell you turn right, turn left, go straight, this is not somebody talking. This is a synthetic voice, correct? Most of the time. So
Yeah.
we are all using that for some years already. We have a question from Aaron. How about old to young? Yes, that's what I was saying. I can do the reverse, but Pierre can do the opposite. Would it be the same as male to female? Can you answer this question?
So yeah, the characteristic of the voice, like the timbre, you can definitely change from a old male to his younger version. If you have recording of his younger him. But the prosody also will still be the one of the old person. So if you want to speak like if he was a child, he will have to mimic the way he was speaking when he was a child, just for the prosody, the way he was reading. But
Yeah, like the
you will definitely
nursery rhyme example that we gave. That's what's happening. So we have an older gentleman, but he's speaking like a child, and then we're turning it more into a child. This is a client of mine. So thanks for the question, Aaron.
Great. And this is a perfect segue. Thanks for the question again. This is a perfect segue to our last demo, because we are going to show you something very interesting. Claudia, can you play the last demo? So this is going to do like starting from my voice and little by little mixing or creating another voice, which is going to be like a blend. I always refer to wines, because we do that with the wines. We create blends. So that's going to be a blend of the two voices. Please play the clip.
L'État sera là comme recours et comme garant.
Les sacs gris sont entourés par une maille plus large qui laisse passer ces animaux.
So now we are blending.
Je me rendrai bientôt au Danemark. 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 Je me rendrai bientôt au Danemark.
And I come back because we have the same comment last time with Pierre. Even when the voice of the girl is 100%, the machine, your computer is keeping my prosody. That's why even when the voice of the girl is 100%, it's a little bit of my prosody that is in her voice.
We use voice morphing in this demo, but we could do the same with text to speech and try to morph your prosody to the prosody of the young lady.
So we know that this synthetic voice already exists, like I said, in the navigator of your car. When you, I don't know, when you answer, when you call your bank, you have a voice saying, please do this, please do that, enter your social security number or whatever. So besides this application, Matt, do you have a lot of requests for this new voices? Because these voices don't belong to anybody. So what are we going to do with that?
Yeah, so right now what we're seeing is people are scared of replicating voices because of rights issues. So there's that blurriness. So what they're saying is, can you create a voice that sounds similar? And see if our consumers will still go for that voice. So that's one thing we're seeing. The other thing we're seeing is luxury brands are wanting to create a trusted branded voice that sounds very luxurious and could be used in hundreds of languages.
Absolutely.
Whereas that would cost them through the roof to try and do that with 100 actors. So we're seeing luxury brands actually dipping their toe in the water because they can see that can monetize very quickly and reach large audiences.
So that they would create it's like creating a logo. They would create a voice, and because we know the voice can be very important to qualify a brand. So when you hear a certain voice, when I talk about the animation, I always say, Bugs Bunny is becoming a brand because everybody knows the voice. Hey, what time, Doc? Everybody knows this voice, so it's becoming a brand. And the importance of the voice, that shows you the importance of the voice in all the domains, entertainment, corporate, luxury brands, very interesting.
And sports is looking for it as well. Sports is looking for the voice that hits that young audience and brings them to their brand.
Interesting. We are hitting our 46 minutes. And I think we need to stop very soon. Conclusion. You guys can give me your conclusion about AI and what do you think, Suad? So I had a live event for the Dubbing Academy with Suad. We had a lot of fun talking about what she does for us. She's a voice actress, a director. In Kenya, but she's there, and it was a great podcast. It's on our website at transperfect.com. If you didn't follow that, I would advise to look at that. So, will AI replace African language? Pierre, do you want to answer this question? I don't think so, but you can try.
What do we mean by African language? Is it because there are a lot of
African language? Right? I mean, she's from Ethiopia, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And so in Kenya they speak Swahili. They speak English, and I think in Kenya they have like 7 official languages plus all the tribe language. So, I was talking with a guy from Nigeria in the bus last time, and he was explaining to me the big problem in Africa is we have too many languages, and so we don't have one common language. So, can AI create a common language?
So for text to speech, it's quite complicated because you need to build some modules which are language dependent, and if you have a really language that small dialect which is spoken by only like a few thousand people, it's a lot of work for this. So I think for low represented languages, voice morphing would be actually a better solution to have a talent speaking the language and then use him as a source and then produce new voices. But if we need to work on such language, we hire a linguist and work with him, and it's possible to develop the language then. But for now, we are focusing on the most spoken language for our industry.
Great.
So technically possible, but not cost effective.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another question, Lawrence. can you envision a future when we have all of the voices we need in bank and therefore no more need for actors? Well, Lawrence, I would disagree with that. And I don't know if you guys are following my thought, but we are looking for actors all the time. And because of this emergence of the platform, what we call OTT, over the top. So, Netflix, Amazon, Apple, etc. We need actors and we don't have enough actors. And like I said, because we have 20% of the actors doing 80% of the jobs, the voices sound always the same. And when I was at Warner, everybody was complaining. Says, can you change the voices? Can you have different voices to do the dubbing? So actually, we need more actors. So I would not worry too much about the needs of the actors. We are going to need actors for a while.
I think also actors are more than just voices, right? The way you move in a physical environment, if you're being struck by an axe or ducking a dragon, is very, very hard to achieve in artificial intelligence right now. You either voice morph, if that makes sense, or you have a pure human actor. And those aren't going to go away. We're making movies that people want to watch. We're not making movies that people want to fall asleep to.
Absolutely, Matt. This is a great thought, and like I say, when in the Dubbing Academy is teaching people how to move in front of the screen. If you dub something, you have to move like the actor, or you have to use gesture. And obviously, the computer doesn't move. The computer doesn't see what's going on, or could see what's going on, but cannot move his arms. So we, as human, have a huge advantage. We can really express with our body more emotions. So 1 minute conclusion, Pierre, and after Matt.
Yeah, I just want to say, even with the voice actor, they are really able to convey really subtle emotions that AI is not able to do. So we will always need voice actor for that. I mean, the computer can just do like a raw version. I mean, quite good. And we always need voice actor for that. So yeah, I would say AI, I think it's really exciting, especially from a creative point of view, and where I think we are just at the beginning, and I think that's really great for movie production, and it will really ease the process. And I don't think we should be scared of what it can bring to us.
And we had the last question on the screen that disappeared, but thank you very much. How to how to protect your voice from AI, and if your voice is cloned, how to gain from that? Well, I would answer very simply. If your voice is cloned against your will, the people who clone the voice will go to jail if we caught them. Now, if you can gain for that by just selling your voice to who wants to clone it. The advertisement is full of this example. When you see on the TV an advertising from an actor, if you have Brad Pitt promoting your jacket or your clothes, this is going to cost you much more than if you have me promoting your jacket. So that's a monetization. If you are famous, you can monetize. If you are not famous, you can still monetize, but for less money. Please, Matt.
I would think about where your voice isn't being used and where you don't want to actually perform, and then sell you or monetize your voice for those reasons. So maybe in healthcare and pharma, you're not interested. So someone could use your voice as a product or as instructions. Whereas where you do want to perform, don't sell your voice. And then that way you can monetize your voice in areas where you don't need to actually work. And in conclusion to AI, sorry, I was just going to conclude
go ahead.
So in conclusion to AI, I think it changes every month. So I don't think we can predict the future, but I think AI should be used as an efficiency tool. And I think that puts the human in the most valuable position. I think that way we can carry on creating great content, but at not a fraction of the cost, but start saving money as well to invest.
Guys, thank you very much. We hit 53 minutes. The number is too little for me. 53 minutes. We can talk another two hours about that. This has been great. Matt, thank you very much. Pierre, thank you very much. Everybody watching, thank you,
Thank
Claudia, in the back, and I will meet you again for our next live event, probably in 1 or 2 months. Thank you very much.
Thanks
Bye
very much, guys.
now.
Thanks for the invite.
Thank you. Bye.